Hope everybody got a good rest this weekend, because we are right back at it on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. I'm Nick Kypreos, alongside for the ride Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee, Derek Brandeo, and Jen Rolnick. You know what I love about trade deadline?
So much.
Once it's over, everything's just so calm and relaxed, and we can just focus on the games.
Hockey.
Yeah.
Tonight, the Maple Leafs in Utah, a game that will feature yours truly and Justin Bourne, albeit a 10 o'clock puck drop.
That's a late puck drop for Dad.
Buddy, I'm the old guy here.
Yeah,
you got to keep me up.
I know.
Don't worry about yourself.
I'll get us caffeinated.
Is Frege doing that one too?
Frege is on that one as well.
Can he work harder, maybe? Oh my God.
Plug in McKee for a night.
Seriously. Like, this kid's calling him uncle just because he visits every once in a while.
It's that time of year. That's all right.
Okay, so I don't even know where to begin after this weekend.
I think we all do.
So we had kind of gone through the whole trade situation with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And once again, this is the Leaf Hour edition of our show. So I'm not sure how far we're going to get to actually talking about Utah. But may I...
Back with Utah.
What I just wanted to remind everybody, the owner of the Utah Hockey Club, Ryan Smith, will join us at the top of the hour.
I shouldn't have said to heck with Utah.
No.
I mean, we have other leafy topics to get to. Then we'll address Utah.
Yeah.
Okay, recap. Leafs make a couple of trades. They shut down at 3 p.m. Eastern with the rest of the league. Scott Laughton's a member. Carlo's a member. Rantanen goes to Dallas. And you think we're kind of putting a bow on everything. And then our very own Elliot Friedman ends up reporting about the ask. Will this go down in Leaf history as just like the ask?
Like to Marner, will you waive your no trade?
So you guys tell me where you want to go with this, because I actually kind of find the whole thing a little silly. But
Silly?
You guys go ahead first.
You know, it feels like one of those things that has to be addressed. That they asked one of their best players if you'd be willing to waive his no trade. Idea being to get Rantanen in. Rumors, innuendo. Sounds like Rantanen would have considered signing.
Oh no rumors.
He would have.
It's fact.
Okay, so I have a hunch how you feel about it. We haven't talked about it. My guess, and I'll just tell you what I think.
Sure, I'd love to hear it.
I feel like I don't really blame anyone here. Like, I don't blame Carolina for trying to get a great player for their asset. I don't blame the Leafs for asking Mitch to say, we don't know if you're going to stay, but we know this guy who we think is also very good would. I don't blame Mitch for saying no, because he has a no trade clause by all accounts. And if he doesn't want to sign there and he's not sure here, he has every right to say no. I don't really blame anyone in the whole process. Makes sense to me.
I'm totally on board with that. So I'll go to Sammy now and say, Sammy, so what's the big deal? What is the big deal? Because apparently I heard that you went off a little bit on your Leaf Talk Saturday night.
JD did a bit more talking than I did.
Okay.
But what else?
You also had some very strong words that I don't agree with.
Okay. I'm surprised to hear you not agreeing with them. I'm joking.
Tell us how you feel.
I think the way this played out and the way, this leaked out here now, and the fact that Mitch Marner waived his no trade clause and said that he's, wants to stay here in Toronto and
enforced his no trade clause.
Enforced his no trade clause. I think now that if he leaves in free agency, the way this is going to be perceived by the fan base, myself included, is he's not going to be very popular here at Kip. And that this now puts it into the John Tavares realm in Long Island. That you were asked by the team to waive, and you said no, which is your right. You negotiated that in your contract. You're allowed to have that. But you well know as well as anybody the perception, Kipper, of this guy in this market.
Yeah.
And this did not help.
So the idea is, if you didn't want to stay, then you should let the team.
And if you want to stay, They've clearly made a ton of offers to you. If you want to stay so badly, why does this have to go down to the 11th hour on July 1st where you have to grind for every dollar? If you want to stay, then just stay.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to go, there's an opportunity to go. You don't want to go to Carolina. I understand that. But the perception to me is it's just you kind of have your cake and eat it here too here. That is what I feel.
And you don't agree with that?
No, not at all. Because first of all, he's looking at it through the eyes of being selfish right now as a Leaf fan or what's best for the Leafs. He's not taking into any consideration.
But he's saying fans.
Sorry?
But he's saying fans will look at it that way, right?
Yeah, and that's okay. He's not the first and he won't be the last. That's what happens with unrestricted free agents. If they leave, there's always the feeling of you left us at the altar, you didn't like us. There's egos involved and all of that. That's fine. That's just life. But for me, to have watched this thing play out since the summer, and Mitch was very clear. I think Darren Ferris was very clear. We're not negotiating. Mitch made it very clear when he said, I'm not talking about my contract the rest of the season. Everybody was on board that he wasn't going anywhere. Everybody.
Mm-hmm.
There was not even a mention all season long about, is Mitch going to waive his no trade? We all came to the conclusion that he's just going to play out the year. So now a scenario with Rantanen at the 11th hour comes up, and he's supposed to just flush that down the toilet because he's worried about how he's going to be perceived if he leaves.
Mm-hmm.
That's not happening. I get Carolina asking for Mitch Marner.
Course, yeah.
And I get that the Leafs have to go back to Mitch because if they don't, they're just not doing their job.
Right.
But please tell me that Brad Treliving had a very strong indication that this guy's going to say no.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I want to ask you
He's
about
going to
that.
say no.
Are you sure they needed to go to him to ask him? Like, really, was there any way in a million years that Mitch Marner is actually going to waive his no trade clause, Kip?
I think if they had been honest with themselves and read the tea leaves, we know what the answer is.
And that's why some of this, to me, seems like PR, right? Like you have to say, we at least did our due diligence.
Yes. But, I want to play a little bit for the Leaf management side too here because there is a level of frustration with disengagement. And I think it's pretty well clear now to everybody that the Leafs have tried to sign him.
Yeah.
Okay? And he stays consistent with his message. I'm not doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I told you I'm not doing it during the season. I'm doing it at the end of the year.
Can I stop you there? Was it clear that they weren't going to talk during the season?
Yeah, from the Marner side.
Okay. I don't remember that being part of the story.
So there is a level of frustration on the Leaf side because now they see Rantanen and we think we can get him. So you got to go back to Mitch and say, by chance, if you want this, it's there.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want you to go. We don't want to do it. We'd rather have you sign here, but we got to also cover ourselves here.
Yeah.
And Mitch said, yeah, I respect that. No problem, but I'm not going. I'm staying.
Sure.
And that should have been the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see what the big deal is. If you really ask the players involved in management from Dallas to Toronto to, I bet you they went through 12 different names. Mm-hmm. Carolina didn't stop Carolina for asking for Rupe Hintz or Wyatt Johnson. Right? I mean, let's just throw names out. Let's see if something sticks here.
Yeah.
Mitch was one of those names to throw up on the wall and see if it stuck.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't. Why are people so upset now?
Because the difference is, did they approach those guys to ask them to waive in the final years of their contract in the biggest media market in the sport? Like, it's just a different scenario here than it is anywhere else, Kip. You know that better than me. Like, the fact that news got out makes this a huge thing. And We talked about it. I mean, you saw everything yesterday. He's getting asked about it. Treliving has to do a damage control press conference yesterday. It's been the number one talking point amongst every Leaf fan from that moment till now. Like, it's a different situation between Dallas and all these places. The fact that Brad Treliving went to the best player on the Toronto Maple Leafs this year, no question, and asked him to waive his no-trade clause in the middle of a season where you're trying to contend for a Stanley Cup is a massive deal. Like, I'm sorry, like, you can downplay it. I can understand that part of it.
The downplay
there's no downplay to that, Kip. It's a huge deal, man.
It is.
They're sick of trying to deal with this contract, and they tried to get out of it.
All that's happened, all that's really changed, Sammy, is you and everyone else woke up to the fact that the trade deadline's over, and there's a real possibility that this guy's going to leave and walk out the door for nothing.
Well,
and that was a reality sledgehammer that came to surface because of this, when really it was out there this whole time and nobody believed it because they just thought he was just being a greedy pig and wanted 13 or 14 million. You misread. And most of Leaf fans misread the situation. They thought they knew, and they didn't have a clue what was going on behind the scenes. And they just woke up to it now and going, oh my gosh.
Sure.
Oh my gosh, he could leave for nothing. Yeah. And they're still offering him 13 or 13.5 million, and he doesn't want to sign it.
Right. So I think that is what's changing perception-wise, for sure. And I think you're totally on point with that. Yeah. It's about then that it's not about the money at that point. It's that you don't want to be here. You know, it's that either if Mitch wanted to be here and he says he does want to be here, the contract and the dollars are there.
Why? Like, but who are you to decide when this needs to happen? Mitch said it could happen at the end of the year.
I'm not here to decide.
Right?
I'm not here to decide, but he is at the mercy of what comes of not deciding. The fact that people are frustrated and annoyed, and it seems like you've got an indifferent girlfriend who's choosing between you and someone else, pisses people off. And I think that's the risk Mitch runs when he has the potential to be everything he could want to be here in this market by just being like, by just having done it. And so, yes, he has all those rights.
He's not everything he can be because he's been 10. Yeah, okay, we could be something.
Yes.
But he's had 10 years where he has been a bit of a whipping boy, been no doubt the scapegoat above anybody else, most polarizing. And what's the point, Justin, if he signs today or tomorrow at 13 times 8 and they lose in the first round? He's done. He's cooked here. He knows it.
Not if he signed for 8 years. That would change things for sure. Then if he doesn't sign here.
Lose in the first round and everybody's going to sit there and he will be the first guy that they blame. Guaranteed. It's happened over and over again.
It changes how, Sam, I know you want to get in here. Go ahead.
Let her rip.
It changes how people feel about you. Like, I know myself with relationships and whatever. If I got a vibe from a partner the way that Mitch just kind of does it with Toronto, I'd be like, you obviously don't like me that much. I'm just not going to waste my time in this. And so people are now feeling like, okay.
No, people have changed their minds. That's what happened. They changed their minds.
What do you mean?
Marner, this guy has told everybody for how long now, you can sign this contract, but I'm going to plug my nose. Why are you plugging your nose, Sam? Because it's not worth it. You've told everybody.
Because of the reaction from this whole feeling.
Nobody wants to sign an 8-year deal and then have someone on national television go, I'm going to plug my nose at the contract.
Well, we're not on national in the Leafs hour, so we don't have to worry about that. But I understand all you're saying, Kyper.
You changed your mind. That's what's happened. Everybody's changed their mind.
What do you mean?
Oh, no. Mitch goes and he makes a big play to win now he can show up.
It was
now
fantastic.
I want him.
And I said that.
Right?
I said as much. But then,
the
splash of cold water in my face of the return to reality, the way he's acted the entire time, every negotiation, everything, he's taken them to the cleaners, and there's this perception
where is he taking them to the cleaners? Where is he taking them to the cleaners,
Sam? He got paid way more than he was supposed to at the start.
At the start.
When he
Where?
his first
When
contract
Randy
negotiation.
got 9 and he got 11, I think is where.
That conversation.
And he's earned every penny of it.
Not saying he's not worth it.
At this point,
So
he's worth it.
what's
But
the
at the
problem
time,
then? What do you mean now?
Braden Point signed for what, 9 at that point? He was overpaid when he was first signed. It went into free agency. I mean, went into training camp. Like the whole
He's earned every penny he's ever made.
He has, absolutely.
Of course. But at the time, he was perceived, and if it's right or not,
But I can tell you, Leon Draisaitl signed at 8.5, and people were saying that at the time it was too much money. Okay? That's the way it works with the salary cap.
Yeah.
Okay, you overpay, and then the cap goes up, and then you're in the sweet spot.
The thing right now, Kip, and I'll just zoom out from all this sort of stuff, is that the Leafs, it feels like the Leafs would give him the money he wants to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like
But that wasn't always the case either.
And that's
right.
I believe that to be true.
This past summer, they didn't know what to do with him.
But you're right. But everything has worked in Mitch's favor this year in terms of salary and what he should get paid. And that's great. He's had a tremendous season.
Yeah.
The salary cap has gone up infinitely, all at the right time for him. And so that's all worked out in his favor. And that's great.
Because he put his balls on the line.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great. But all that having gone as well as it is, he's obviously going to make a lot of money. You're talking about, is it going to be 104, 106, 100 and whatever? It doesn't seem like it's coming down to money. And so people reserve the right to be upset if the guy doesn't want to take $100 million to play for their team. And so he has his right on the 1st of July to say, I will stay. I'll take 13, whatever. Give me the Matthews contract. And people are going to feel differently knowing he needed to date a few other people first before he did that.
I still think it's wide open whether he stays or goes.
How can this not change that? How can what
Why
just
should
happened?
it change? Sammy?
Because they're
Why
willing
would
to
it change?
because they were willing to trade you at the deadline in the middle of a huge season.
It's not your call, Toronto. It's not management's call on when. I control.
I know.
I've earned the right to make my call.
Yeah.
And if I want to do it in May, like that's when I want to see it. Let's see how I get treated. If we get knocked out in the first round, can I see how I'll be treated? Can I see, will I take the same punishment? Will people blame me because I had a bad line change and Pasternak passed me and the game-winning goal is over? Do I get all the blame? Or not?
Those are totally fair things. He's allowed to have those considerations.
Can we go to a conference final? Can I play the way I think I can play? People love me for a month and a half. And then turn around and sign, and it'll feel a lot better to him and to the Leafs.
I just think by all accounts, everyone likes Mitch Marner. Every single teammate. I've worked with people in the organization for years. I know people around there. Everyone likes Mitch. He seems to be in a stable place here and all that. But it does feel like sometimes he's maybe not getting great advice. Because it feels like...
What advice?
Well,
where's bad advice? Look at his contracts. He's maxed out.
I know.
He's earned it.
But that's it.
Right?
Where's
the bad advice?
If he took $100 million today, or whatever, call it 3 months ago, took $100 million and could lead this franchise in points, he'd have his jersey retired in the rafters. Doug Gilmour is on Sonnet insurance commercials at 60 years old. You can make infinitely more money, and
maybe he doesn't care about being on a commercial. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he
clearly cares a lot about the bottom line here, Kyper, because he's
just
negotiating.
To the end.
Exactly it. Like, stop saying you want to be a Leaf. Stop saying you want to be here.
If the money's $107 million, I want to be a Leaf,
or
whatever the number is.
If it's there, if you want to be a Leaf,
listen,
prove it. Sign again.
He is not. He's not shown anybody with conviction that he wants to be a Leaf.
But he said that multiple times. He wants to be here.
It's a tagline. It's just a tagline. That guy doesn't know whether he wants to be a Leaf or not.
And that's what bugs people.
Yes.
Well, hey, so what? 6 months ago, you didn't want him to be a Leaf either.
Fair enough.
So, okay.
100%.
So, treat me like crap, but then treat me like you want to keep me. Like, who's in control here? Well, not the fans, not management, Mitch.
But he's a non-social media guy. Like, I don't know. I agree that he's taken some knocks on the chin, but he's one of the 2 highest paid guys on the league or on the team. And him and Matthews, those guys, they haven't got over the hump. I don't know if he's taking it harder than Matthews or any of these other guys. He probably is a little bit, but it's because of this stuff. You know, neither Matthews nor Nylander went down to the mat for every nickel at the very end, and it changes how people feel.
Yeah. That's well said. I don't know why. Like, this is a very similar conversation I'm sure they were having about John Tavares in the Long Island.
I don't remember where the Islanders were at. The one
they
thing
were fighting for the playoffs.
They were fighting.
I think they were maybe close to the playoffs, so they were in a playoff spot. He didn't want to go, and I'm telling you, Kyper, if he leaves, he's not going to be beloved.
It won't. I don't think
it won't matter
really,
in his hometown. Where like it's not going to matter. How can that not matter?
Do you think he's going to leave?
I do.
No, I think if they win a couple of rounds, he stays.
Yeah. I honestly,
I think if they win
he
2 rounds, he stays.
I think he wants to stay. That's the impression I have. And so,
can I give you one more scenario? And this is just me off the top of my head.
Of course.
What happens if he's been here 10 years and goes, can't win here.
Mm-hmm.
Can't win here. I got no shot at winning a Stanley Cup here. Yep. 10 years. 10 years I've been here. 10 years they've tried. 10 years I've watched them make decisions. 10 years I've seen the assets go out the door. Well, I can't win here. I want to go somewhere else and try to win a Stanley Cup.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to that?
I mean, what do I say to him in that situation?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's like any major star who asks for a trade.
Yeah.
Again, it affects how people feel about you, but you're allowed to do what you want.
Okay, but no respect for that. No, hey, listen, I get it. I may get it that you want to go and try to win a Stanley Cup somewhere else.
Yeah, I think, we tend to see these guys get to a certain point in their career where they go, God, I gave them all my good years and I'm running out of them. I better go. I don't believe in this franchise anymore. I mean, in that hypothetical, if he says that and the team's no good.
I'm just throwing scenarios out there.
But
it's just, it can't be always about just the money.
I agree. Totally agree. Situation, circumstance. Are you comfortable? Are you happy? Sounds like he's got a great community here.
There's just a million things that go through a guy in his last year of his deal with no contract.
But so the question I have for you is, you can't squint and see Leaf fans' perspective of this.
Listen,
like
if
you just can't
listen,
see the other side of this because
of course I can.
There's a big flip side to this, Kyper, where everything you said, he's been a phenomenal Leaf in the regular season. He's been unbelievable. He's been worth every dollar. And we've argued about the playoff stuff a million times, but when it comes to cutting time, a lot of the time it hasn't been there. And there's been the puck over the glass stuff and the big mistakes and big games. Listen, I get he's a phenomenal player, but there's a flip side to this, Kip. There is. Yeah. And we just can't ignore it.
Sometimes the flip side is there needs to be a change. Listen, you can't just keep banging your head against the wall and trying. Listen, 3 years now, these 4 guys, get rid of one of them. You can't win.
You know what's crazy?
Can't win with all 4.
Is Colorado traded Rantanen 13 games ago, and I looked at their forward group today, and I went, that's way better.
Yeah.
They used the money differently. They did different things.
But winning changes everything, Sammy.
I know.
Okay? And I think that's what his game plan was all along, is just go into the playoffs, win a couple of rounds, get some momentum, show people that you can play in big games. If he signs $13 million now and they lose in the first round, the guy's going to get beat up bad. And all bets are off. Then
Kyper, they lose in the first round again this year, everybody's getting beat up bad. You think it's going to be just him? You think Matthews, who's had the worst year of his career and he's no good in the first round in the first year being a captain, you don't think he's going to take it on the chin?
He will take it more because he has in the past.
Not now, man. It's just, they're all together.
Matthews has been very well protected compared to Marner.
Yeah. But I don't agree with that anymore. I think this perception is flipped. And I think the Four Nations face-off was unbelievable for Marner. And it did so much.
It changed your mind.
It changed so many people's mind, Kyper.
And you know what? Sometimes you change your mind, including a relationship, and people get to say, it's just too late.
Yeah.
It's just too late.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
You
And
know,
listen,
I'm sorry you changed your mind that you couldn't open up your eyes and see what you had.
wow.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen what I've had for 7 years.
Yeah, and you
8
crapped
years.
on it a lot.
Yeah. When the biggest games happen and it's crap, I did crap.
That, my friend, is what I call having your cake and eat it too.
For sure. No question. Like great in the regular season, and my cake, I don't get to have it too in the playoffs when it matters the most.
I do think that, so I have long said that, like, it's going to happen for Marner. Like, in the
Sure.
playoffs, you see him in big games in the Four Nations, and, like, it's going to happen for him at some point. It would be interesting. This year goes great. He puts up a bunch of points. They have success.
Just win.
Just win, yeah.
Just win. Winning solves everything, guys. Okay?
Yeah.
And then when you lose, everybody jumps off an island, okay? And just finds whatever saves their own ass.
So
That's what losing does in the NHL.
one more point I wanted to make on this is that all of this does feel like people protecting themselves a little bit. You know, like management we had to find out that they asked them, right? They had to look out for themselves a little bit, be like, just so you guys know, we did ask. You know, everyone kind of in this case, like these jobs are hard to come by. The player has to, you know, I just feel, why do we know about it? I feel like there's a lot of people just making sure everyone knows. We're all doing our job here. We're all trying our best.
What do you make of it coming out?
I wrote, I've had conversations with you. I would have traded Marner last summer, okay? And I would have been aggressive on him. I would have. People are suggesting now that the Leafs may have leaked this to put pressure on him. Have you heard that?
No.
About Elliott's report coming out?
I'm fascinated to know who leaked it.
There would be zero benefit to the Toronto Maple Leafs for leaking it. I hear that, they wanted to put pressure on him. There's no pressure on a Saturday, 12 hours after the trade deadline.
Right,
There's
true.
no pressure.
Yeah.
The pressure would have been if it got leaked before 3 p.m. So wipe that out of your heads right now. There was no benefit of this leaking from anybody in the Toronto Maple Leafs side. All leaking would have done was pour gasoline on a fire, which it did, and cause a major distraction. The last thing the Leafs needed was this to be a distraction to their season. Okay, if by chance the Leafs don't get it back on the rails and they may be losing the first round, this will be the key
This is
turning
the Marner
point.
contract disaster.
This is
Every year has its new
people
one.
will mark this down as the reason where it fell off.
100%. And
Right?
Credit to them for coming out and talking about it.
I don't have
Yes. Yeah, I think Tree did a good job of saying we want him back, and he knows that. And when his time's ready, he's going to come to us.
you know, part of what Tree said in his clip, and I don't think we're past the point of playing clips here. I think we've, talked about it enough, but he said this is not a distraction. We don't want it to be a distraction. Yeah. I got to tell you, boys.
Yes, he knows.
He
knows.
But we're past the point we're past the point of this not being a distraction. This is now looming over the entire thing. And it wasn't before that got out.
Win tonight in Utah, come back, beat Florida this week, and everything calms right down. Okay? But, just to my earlier point, for me, I would have pushed Marner harder. I would have said, listen, we're going to play out this season, but there's going to be a trade deadline at 3 p.m. If we don't have your name on a signature, you got to give me 6 teams. Mm-hmm. You got to give me 4 teams. You got to do something to me. I'm not sure that's happened. Mm-hmm. I'm not privileged to that information. I don't know if it did, but as far as I'm concerned, I don't think it happened.
Mm-hmm. Well, going back in time here, the great what if and the time to trade Mitch Marner, as we all know, was before July 1st, was it 2022? But right before he left, before the no move kicked in, before you had more control of what he wanted to do, he had years left in his contract there, and it was the first week of Brad Treliving on the job. He's just getting there. This is the one situation where, looking back, a fresh set of eyes maybe was a worse thing.
We could do a 4-hour show looking back, and we will find a lot of that. Okay?
What
a
ifs.
lot of it. What ifs or what happened, and
that's common in most organizations. Right?
Not quite like this one. No, and we don't care about other organizations.
Touche.
But Mitch Marner the Leafs needed a hard list of, give me something here. Give me something.
Do you think they hate that?
So I wrote an article on the Rantanen thing saying that the Leafs should go after Rantanen, and they did. And I'm not saying this because I wrote an article, but I'm saying because it made total sense. Because Rantanen was their plan B. Mitch walks out the door, Rantanen walks right in. The time Brad needed to ask Mitch if he would waive his no move was when Colorado had Rantanen up for sale, not Carolina at the last second. That's
a great point.
And then you should have had
about
a list
there.
of 3, 4, 5 teams. And you know what? I guarantee you one of them would have been Colorado.
Yeah. That's actually a fantastic point.
Do you think that like Marner and the people around him, just call it his agent, whatever, hate this? Hate that he's in the news every day and part of the conversation? Or do you feel like they like this? Because it feels like this is...
What's to like?
I don't know, but some people...
What's to like?
Some people just like being in the headlines. And
not like this. Nobody would like this.
Yeah.
Nobody would like this.
There's a president in the U.S. that seems to like chaos.
Oh, gosh. No.
You know,
The kid just wants to play.
Yeah.
And
it just feels like this is avoidable to me. I don't know. We shouldn't be here.
It was.
Yeah.
It was, but there's a sequence of events that have totally led to this. This didn't happen by accident.
The Big Bang.
This was the stars aligning to get to this point. Right? And either
stars are not aligned.
Stars are
jagged and
win.
They're everywhere.
Win and they go back.
I can't believe you even asked him.
Yeah.
That's what I go back to. Is that I truly can't believe Treliving even asked. And listen, it takes stones to even take it to him. I guess it's doing your job. I guess. But like, you just had a guy in Mikko Rantanen go there. And literally, we're going to play a clip later in the show, be like, he never wanted to be there. And you approach a premier guy from Toronto that's going to want to go to Carolina mid-season.
Hey,
I'm stunned they even asked.
Hey, Mikko, it's Mitch Marner. How was it? Yeah.
Well, it doesn't sound like Mikko went there, looked around, and said, this stinks. Sounds like Mikko found out he was going to Carolina and said, this stinks.
What he said was, I'm like 2 months away from free agency. Yeah. Why do I now... Why am I forced to pick Carolina? It was ridiculous to begin with. And I think in our national hour, we may have a clip from the head coach who all but admitted that.
He did.
So it's like, tough learning lesson. 0 for 2, Carolina. 0 for 2 on picking a potential UFA and thinking I'm holding all the cards because I'm the only one that can offer an 8th year.
I think this happens to Winnipeg, and more than people know that, like, it's not as easy as can you get the guy. It's can you get a guy who wants to be there? Can you get a guy who you're not on his no trade? Can you get a guy who wants to stay? Like, it's a challenge for some teams more than others out there. And I think some GMs come off really good. Like Tampa Bay is a great example where, like, no one's ever turned them down. You know, and everyone's like, Breeze was a genius. It's like, well, he has a lot less limitations than other GMs.
Conference final for the Leafs, Sammy. Mitch stays. You're a happy guy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Duh. Yeah. Like, honestly, that, I think the great flaw or the fly in the ointment, I don't even know if that's the right saying, but the whole reason this is like this is because they didn't get a bounce or two in a couple game sevens that they've played. If they went to the conference finals once, the second round twice, they went like, it's just
you're like, we're making pushes, we're getting close.
There's so much around the playoff stuff that people just don't feel great about it.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Like they fall to the 2-3 matchup, they get smoked in 5 by Tampa or something. That's like, all right, well, we got 11 mil to spend because he's gone.
I think. Yeah, I don't have anything else.
We should go to break.
Okay, let's go to break. And wow, we didn't even get
they played a game.
To what happened Saturday night. Still plenty more on our Leaf Edition hour as we break down what we saw Saturday night, including a couple of new faces, plus 10 p.m., 9:30, pregame show, Justin Bourne and yours truly, David Amber, Elliot Friedman. We get to do it all over again. More when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. Welcome back to the program. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. It's the Leaf Hour edition of our program.
Crazy they traded Marner when we went to commercial. It was wild.
I got a text in the text line.
So, we're not taking text. Is this a special edition text?
As a Bruins fan, I am really enjoying this Marner conversation.
Yeah,
But can Kyper and Sammy just hug it out on camera, please?
Yes.
You guys don't know. You
Signed the David-nator.
They're besties.
Okay, Sammy's like 6'7". I can't reach him. I cannot reach him to hug him. I assure you this.
Boys, can you imagine they traded Mitch Marner for Mikko Rantanen on Friday?
Honestly, I would like to go to the universe where it happened so I could get Kyper's.
Are they better?
I don't know, man. Let's not.
Okay. It's a fascinating what if.
Yes.
He doesn't kill penalties, does he, Rantanen?
No, he's not much of a defensive whiz.
No.
But crazy what if. Crazy.
All right. You mentioned it in our first block that Colorado looks a little different.
Yeah.
In your opinion, a little better. There's no question when Valerie Nichushkin's in the lineup, like they're a better hockey club. His hat trick lifted the Avalanche past the Maple Leafs for their 5th straight win. And somehow, some way, I thought maybe Saturday night McKinnon could kind of just slide by with not much on the score sheet. And then, no, not so much.
How about how good Brock Nelson was? Was he not fantastic? Am I the only one who noticed that?
First shift of the game, he rings one off the post right down the chute.
Ran it everyone he could. He was...
Is now a bad time to tell you how hard the Leafs pushed on Brock Nelson?
No, it's a great time. Tell us, please.
Tell us
right?
more. Yeah.
They did?
No.
No. Did they try to trade Matthews for McDavid at the deadline too? Got the other brain busters.
Okay, go back.
He was really good. I think most important place to start is probably with the Leafs, with their new guys, Brandon Carlos, Scott Lawton.
Yes.
I don't really care about the overview of the game. They lose 7-4. They were up 4-2.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Not so much whatever. That's
okay.
That's one that you gotta lock down. You gotta come out with points in that.
Can't lock down anything without 10.
That's not a good sign.
It's not.
Okay, it's not a good sign, and they should be extremely disappointed. I don't buy into, well, we had 2 new faces and we got to get them acclimated and
the other team
blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, up 4-2. Close it out.
Mm-hmm. I'll give you that. But just to hit on the new guys first. Carlo, good for me. Lawton, bad. Anyone want to elaborate or disagree? Carlo did have some tough moments.
The first 5 minutes of the Carlo experience, I was like, did they just make a new Tuukka Rask trade?
No.
Did Tuukka Rask trade just drop? New one? But then he did settle into the game. But he got barbecued, I think, on the first or second shift by Nathan McKinnon, blew by him. Didn't look comfortable, but it's his first game. Didn't get to practice. Flies in there against the fastest team in the league. Didn't think it was the best matchup for him, but I thought he grew into the
20
game. He led
plus
the team.
minutes.
Led the team
in minutes.
Yeah.
That's a big ask for sure.
It is.
And I'm with you. At times he looked a little lost out there, but his head's spinning a little bit, and he's asked to play the most minutes. I think Carlo at least showed everybody that he can really help, especially if one of the big boys goes down.
Yeah.
Tanev, we got news today that it's not going well on his rehabilitation, on his upper body injury. So, that's why you got Carlo.
Yeah.
Because you envision maybe a McCabe or a Tanev going down, and you need a guy that can play 18 to 22 minutes.
A couple of days ago, Kevin Papetti tweeted the lowest 5-on-5 goals against per 60 over the last 5 seasons. And Carlo is 4th in the NHL. On the list is Tanev, Lindholm, McDonough, Forsling. Good players. He is a really good shutdown quality guy. Thought a couple times the play was going behind the net and he took the body, really just stopped the rush or the cycle. So those things I found really optimistic. I know, the end of the day, I think he was on for 2 for and 2 against, but that was really positive for me. So it looks like it should. I think him and Riley are going to end up working out pretty decent. Lawton, tougher start.
Yeah. Not the debut. I mean, local guy.
Yeah.
Dreamed of this moment literally his whole life.
Yeah.
And then you throw on the jersey.
And he'll be fine.
For sure.
You know, it's like Colorado, you're at elevation chasing Nate McKinnon in a new sweater. Big ass.
And it just sucks. He makes the wrong decision. He covers off the point for some reason, gives him a full straight line right to the cup, and he shoots it in. Like, that's not the debut you wanted, but I'm not worried about it.
For me, again, go back to the trade, I would have preferred more skill. A guy that could shoot it in the net, someone that could alleviate more pressure off of Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares, now Nyes, but it's not him.
No.
It's not him. He's going to have to come in here, play incredibly gritty. For this trade to work out, he's got to play more than 11 minutes.
Yeah.
Like might as well have kept Connor Dewar and your first rounder, and it cost him Gulbenkian.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know what Gulbenkian's going to be, but the guy came along. He's going to be something here. You gave up a lot for this guy. He has to find a wheelhouse of 14, 16 minutes, 17. They got to be quality, in your face, hard, shoot it in the net every once in a while. That's where they got to get this guy to.
Well, they got to build that third line. Like I don't know what the answer is going to be, but I am fascinated that they scratched Calle Jarnkrok, right? Nick Robertson stayed in.
Yeah.
He played a start in the fourth line. They worked him up to the second line, which didn't exactly go great. But yeah.
Okay.
No, it's just unclear what this third line's going to look like.
Well, this goes to show you that you go into Saturday night and they've got Max on the wing, right? And Holmberg's big and heavy. McMahon's big and heavy. Lawton's heavy. He doesn't want Nick Robertson or Jarnkrok.
No.
They're light. They don't push. They don't run people over.
Yeah.
But they don't get in the way.
Domi's no different to me in terms of like physicality. Like he doesn't hit. Like yes,
no,
he's got
but he
edge.
can piss people off.
He can for sure.
He can stir it up.
Yeah.
He can stir it up.
He'll stick his nose in there for sure.
Nick unfortunately can't, and neither can Jarnkrok. So they may bounce back and forth, those two guys.
Jarnkrok and Robertson.
Until he gets pissed off at one of the guys in the lineup.
Yeah. Or there's an injury. It is crazy because we have talked for years about Nick Robertson getting traded. And now that they keep or get Lawton instead of a guy like Nelson who can't, Lawton doesn't score, I'm more drawn to Robertson. They need more guys who can shoot it in. Nyes is better than they've ever had, and McMahon too. But like, there's going to be games where it's like, guys, we can't go 7 straight games scoring 2 goals a game. Nick might have to shoot a couple in for us. So he's going to get some opportunity here.
Yeah.
By the time this thing's all said and done.
The thing you worry about is just, like you mentioned, his role.
Yeah.
Like, he's not – when I saw him playing on the fourth line, I was like, oh, he's not playing next game. Like, it's just like he's playing on the fourth line wing. It's like, that's just not – you've seen that a million times over the years in hockey where they put, like, the young skill guy on the fourth line. It's just like, that's not a plan that's going to work.
I watched Robertson in that role. Puck gets dumped in behind him, and there's a player in front of him, and just lets him go hit his D-man as hard as he can. As a winger, all you do when the puck's dumped is you step in front of the first guy. You just get a butt end, you slow him down, whatever, and he just doesn't do some of those little things, and that's frustrating. So that, to me, I'm just saying he can't play on the fourth line. You're not going to do those simple little things. So better shoot it in sometimes.
Yeah, but you do watch Brock Nelson, and you're like,
that's a different thing.
That would have been nice.
I guess they offered him. Reports were over 3 times 7.5, like 3 times 8.
That ain't getting it done
for Nelson.
Yeah, he's going to make more money in Colorado.
He said he wanted more,
and he's going to get another year. He'll get 4 years, and he'll get north of what you just said.
8.5?
Nah, maybe. I don't think you have to go that high.
8, maybe.
Yeah.
Not even.
Yeah, maybe 8.
Yeah.
The thing that you said about Lawton playing 11 minutes, I really hate that the big deadline edition on this first night just slid right into Team B.
Well,
yeah,
but
it's just like that's not.
It's just
what
Sammy.
that's not what I wanted.
It's one game.
I understand
where he struggled a little bit in his own zone. So instead of adding onto it, he backed off his minutes. He maybe established that it wasn't going to be a good night for him. The minutes that he probably ended up with were more in line to protect him than to expose him for more colossal damage.
And I'm going to Lawton's like game logs, last 5 games with Philly, 18-17, 19-19, 18-33, 16, and then Toronto last night. My point is that he can play minutes. Now, typically, he's only played about 15, 16 minutes a night.
Tonight,
which is what you're asking
tonight,
for.
He needs to hit that average.
Yeah.
Tonight, he needs to hit that wheelhouse.
His average with Philly is 15.06 this year. So, yeah, if
Okay.
you can get there, that's good.
Goaltending.
First night that stole ours.
Yeah, first night where it's like, that's not the guy that you saw all season long.
Yeah.
What did you see?
I still saw him keep him in the game.
Yeah.
A lot of that
He
game.
made some big saves.
He
too.
did. Like, I know 5 entered the net, but like, God.
5. Could have been 7 or 8.
Oh, could have been 10.
10.
So, I don't know. Like, they're playing pretty porous team defense right now.
Kip and I
boys.
are going to do TV tonight, and Kip, if I'm not mistaken, you have some numbers about that. Am I correct? Like, we got some from Marzi sent to us about how their D since a certain point has not been very good.
Yes. And the one thing that is abundantly clear, and we'll get into this in our pregame show, is that they are spending way too much time in their own zone.
Yeah.
And why do you think that is, boys? Can't break it out?
Well, Benoit and Myers as a
Tanev,
pair cannot break the puck out. Neither of them can do
Especially
it.
against that team.
Yeah. So that's just you're in catch up mode here. And now everybody's trying to block a shot, and everybody's trying to help the goalies out. And what used to be just maybe a block shot and a puck out now is starting to turn into longer time in your own zone, or finding ways to get through now and actually beat your goaltender. So they got to clean that up tonight.
Yeah, they're some of the stats I saw today, I was poking through it. They're like puck retrievals to clean breakout stuff from Sportlogic, all really bad. Like 28th, 29th, like they're not going back on pucks and getting them going cleanly the other way. So, without guys like Liljegren and Timmins, who, okay, I'm fine with that. You're going to need a couple guys to make some plays here. And Carlo can do that. He should help them in that regard, but hasn't been pretty for a while.
Willie, Saturday night, I think he ended up with 2 assists, and I'm like, really?
Did he?
He did?
I think so.
Yeah, he did. I think power play on
but he was too quiet for me Saturday night.
I would agree with that.
With pace of play and holding onto the puck and making more dangerous, consistent plays, it wasn't really his night either.
Right. Tavares keeps shooting it in the net. His shooting percentage is through the roof.
God, he can lean on a snapper when
he
he gets in the sweet spot. Like that one he beat him clean.
Yes.
But 5-on-5, I think he still struggles for me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I was trying to find a stat here.
It's funny. Nylander for me, to my eye, I'm like, it hasn't been particularly good recently, and it's just he's got a 5-game point streak going.
Yeah.
And how many goals? 35?
He has 35 goals. Yeah.
It's like quietly like
his career high.
He's so talented he could score 35 with his eyes closed, and on maybe a good year when he opens them up, maybe 50.
While we're before we go to break, so since February 1st, Matthews and Marner, it's funny that it's like statistically have like flipped roles. Matthews 3 goals, Marner 6. Matthews 15 assists, Marner 5. Shooting percentage for Matthews is 5 and Marner's 27.
I thought we had Freaky Friday already.
Honestly, though, like, do any goalies check the scouting report on Marner?
He shoots in the same place.
Every goal in his career has hit the exact same part of the net. Cross.
Far.
It's like
far side.
Cross the seam into the blocker side of the net.
Crazy.
It's always happened.
Matthews leads NHL since February 1st in assists. First time in his career, he's led the NHL in assists for a span of at least 30 days. So maybe he's dished. He's been listening. Maybe he's tuning in.
Looking like a young Jordan Stahl out there recently.
What do we make of it? Utah?
We're about to find
Utah.
out.
They're actually pretty good, but they're no high end.
But meaningful games still for them, right?
Absolutely. They're in the mix.
I'm sure our next guest is fired up about that.
Yes.
Good segue, Sammy.
Thank you.
Ryan Smith, owner of the Utah Hockey Club, will join us after the break. It's got to be kind of cool owning a team, eh?
Must be fun. Look forward to hearing about that.
All right. We'll get into that, plus so much more. Brad Marchand.
Oh, my God.
We didn't even talk about him.
Oh, my God. We need another hour.
Have we got more meat on the bone here on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Do not, I repeat, do not go away. Additional edition of our program. What's up, Sammy?
Oh, your mic wasn't on point, sir.
But now you are.
I got the green light, bud. I'm like shot out of a cannon. When he says go, I go.
He looks like Brock Nelson at the start of the Saturday night's game.
Live on Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver and Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. He's Sammy McKee. He's Justin Bourne. I'm Nick Kypreos. Spent a good full hour on our Leaf edition. I know it's a national show, but still coming off that crazy Friday in which Leaf fans thought maybe Rantanen, maybe not, only to find out that Marner may have been out there, and now we're in Vancouver, and a lot of talk about Brock Besser being out there and thought for sure there'd be a trade, and then the general manager, Alvin, comes out and basically says, "You cannot believe the crap they offered me for this
They
player."
offered us crap. We took his A away. We're barely playing him, but he should take a discount to play here.
It's excellent negotiating.
Okay, like, I'm not big on devaluing your own assets.
You know, generally it's a bad strategy.
I don't know why he would come out and say that. You don't.
I think he's protecting
You don't
himself.
have to lie, but you don't have to say that. I couldn't get him. I couldn't get a bucket of pucks for him.
You know, but that's the implication. But don't you feel like we talked about in the last hour how in some cases general managers are protecting themselves against public perception? It feels like Alvin was like, I know I should have traded him and I didn't. No one, he's like saving his own bacon. Like, I'd have traded him if I could have. Right? Like, you're trying to say, hey, guys, like, there's nothing there. But of course, that doesn't end up looking very good for the player and the relationship with the player and all that.
There's a head
But-
scratch. There's a lot of head
hold
scratches
on for a
going on
second.
out there.
There was still the thought, and they did at one point this season, if reports are true, put $40 million on the table for him.
What's that? Like a
5-year deal.
Yeah.
I that's what one of the reports were that I saw, that at some point earlier this season, and I don't believe that they tried to negotiate right up until the deadline,
right.
but he was good enough for you to invest $40 million. So why not just say, we like the player, we're not giving him away for free, and there's still a thought that we'd like him to resign. And even if that's not entirely accurate, protect the player.
Of course.
He's still playing for you.
Yeah.
And you still may go to the playoffs.
We actually talked, we didn't get to this in the first hour, but about Tree Living coming out and saying the right things about, to be clear, we want Mitch Marner. You know, they tried to get out in front of the thing and protect the player, protect
Some
the
damage
asset.
control.
Some damage control.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to do that.
I know. But see, for me, it's always protect the asset.
Yeah.
Always. And the only thing I could say about Tree is when they lost in the first round to Boston and someone asked him about Mitch Marner, he's like, we're open to anything.
Well,
and that was not really protecting an asset either. So
I think that was more about the core in general, right?
well, I think also, Sam, he's protecting himself there because if he says we're running it back again, we'd have all been like,
correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
you know,
Yeah,
verbally,
correct.
by the way.
Yeah.
But he could have. There's just ways that you could still kind of not hang out your player, to feel like they don't like me anymore.
It sucks. But you do kind of have to be a
I feel bad for Brock. I think he's been around for a while now. He's still a top goal scorer. Come on.
I mean, he's only 28 years old, and people like. I am shocked when you go to his page. He had 40 goals last year. He's only had 30 goals. He's never hit 30 goals again. Like, he's got 29 one other year, but 40 is like kind of an anomaly. So if he's offered 40 schmil and he's on pace for 24 this year, and if I'm signing him, I don't think it's going to get much better than, it's a pretty good contract for Besser. What's he think he's going to get?
Oh, I think he can get. He
6
gets
times 8
6
as a
years.
free agent or something crazy. That'd be wild.
Even the extra year matters to him.
Sure, it should.
Right? Because he's not the fastest player. Those wheels could disappear in 4 or 5 years. So you want to max out. He's not getting 8. The most he'll get is 7. And I think teams will be weary to pay him 7. But I think he can get 6.
Yeah.
He can shoot it in the net.
Yes.
Can I ask you, do you believe him that they got no offers? Because I can't necessarily say I do. I mean,
I guess it
Beauvillier is
depends.
going for a second-round
But
pick.
he's-
They didn't someone didn't offer them a first-round pick for Brock Besser?
Pure rental, would he have been? He's up.
Yeah.
Pure rental.
I had a source from another team tell me it wasn't that bad. He thinks that he got a decent offer or two for him.
Oh, boy.
It wasn't that bad.
Oh boy,
So
that's news in Vancouver.
Like, I mean,
Okay,
I just find it hard to believe that somebody didn't offer a first-round pick. Anyways,
okay, as promised, how many owners have we had on our show in 4 years?
It's got to be it.
first one ever, I think.
Let's welcome to the program our first ever NHL owner in real Kyper and Bourne history, Mr. Ryan Smith.
What's up, guys?
How are you?
Thanks for joining us. Really like your background. Is that a green screen?
That is Utah, fellas.
Oh my God.
That's what we get every day here.
Talk amongst yourselves. I'm just going to stare at his background.
You know, Kip, and Ryan, I played at the E Center there now. I think it's the Maverick Center. My dad coached there. I think, is it like the third sunniest city in the U.S.? It's got sun all the time.
It's that light blue in our uniforms. It's there for a reason because that's what it feels like every day here.
So, Ryan, just take us back a little bit with you personally on when was the seed planted for you personally with NHL hockey?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm a tech guy. I grew up 20 years running a tech company that I founded in my parents' basement. And, you know, when we sold that company, you know, I really wanted to get into sports. I'm a big NBA fan. We ended up somehow locking up the NBA Utah Jazz, which are here, which is the team that I grew up cheering for, which is pretty rare. I mean, people can get into sports. Very rarely do you get the team you grew up cheering for. And, you know, we spent a little time in the summer up in Idaho, and I'm surrounded by hockey guys. You know, Kelly Chase, Gretz, John Cooper, and we all spend time on the golf course. And Ray Whitney, Sheldon Surrey, like, I was like, wait, there's something different about these guys. And we started talking hockey, and everything kind of went from there. And one thing led to another. Ended up meeting with Gary a couple times, and, you know, we expressed our interest last, what was it, almost a year ago, you know, January, saying, hey, we'd love to have an NHL team in Utah. It makes sense. The Olympics are coming. And, you know, we get a call 2 months later going, hey, could you play next fall? And I know that's not the typical way this works. We thought it was going to be 3 or 4 years, that even the shot to get an expansion, and even those expansion conversations in any league are very hit and miss. And, you know, we get the call saying, can you start next year? And I've just learned with these things that you kind of say yes and then go figure it out later.
It sounds like, a lot of figuring had to be done in a very short while. So, you know, on the ice, you're taking on a team that hadn't made playoffs in a lot of years, had a whole bunch of assets, but how you go from there to on-ice success is a challenge. How has it gone on the ice for you guys in terms of where you thought you'd be to where you are right now?
I mean, honestly, and I know it's weird to say, there wasn't that much from an expectation standpoint coming in, just because we were trying to see what it was like to have, you know, February, where we just kind of got out of 11 days of back-to-back NBA and NHL, where we took the floor out every single night. We were trying to understand, like, what the fan, you know, buy-in level was to this. I mean, it was a bit of a bet. And, you know, is there a practice facility? And, you know, we knew we had some assets and some core young players. And, you know, what would happen if they kind of were given everything they needed to go? And I think we've seen definitely an uptick. But we've also had our moments where, for whatever reason, playing in front of the home crowd got a little daunting for a period there. And I think we've turned that around. So hopefully we're making a big push right now.
You're watching and listening to Ryan Smith, owner of the Utah Hockey Club. So, Ryan, you went through your first trade deadline of any NHL season. How was that experience? I know you got Bill Armstrong there. John Ferguson is there too, experienced hockey guys. But how involved do you like to be, or how much are you around to maybe learn? And it's typical. It's not that typical now for young owners now to be more inclined to take part in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I think with the assets or the franchise values going up on these things, I think in any sport, just from a business standpoint, you very rarely, do something like this and then hand it over to someone and never look back. I think we bought the Jazz from an organization that paid $22 million for the franchise. And, what we're seeing in sports across the way is like there's some level of involvement. I think the trick is how to empower your people, though. And, I think the one thing that I think Bill Armstrong and Chris Armstrong definitely will feel is, hey, I want to be involved enough so I know what's going on. And, hopefully they'll want my opinion just from a logic, a strategy, a business standpoint. But at the same time, you hire great people and you get out of the way. And, this trade deadline, I think, was the first time that we'd gone through any part, whether it was a trade deadline or re-signing players. And what became really clear is people want to be in Utah. And I think that whether it was Kerfoot, Ian Cole, Veggie coming back, like we're excited for where this goes. And I think we'll be active in the future. I think Bill's not being constrained a whole lot. And so I think we're in a good spot.
Ryan, how thrilled were you when you buy an NHL franchise and they say, by the way, the salary cap is going up from $88 to $113 million. Is that a positive or does that hurt?
That feels like every day in the NBA.
Yeah. That's true. I guess it's a different budget level on that team.
Well, no, it's just different. It's different. There's a lot of similarities, and I think we're learning from both. I think we're probably the first organization, because it's one ownership group. We're truly like treating it as like one family. We've got our head coach, Will Hardy, for the Jazz, shows up to every home hockey game. Lauri Markkanen from Finland. He's the only Finnish player in the NBA. However, he is there with his kids on the ice. He is there. He is in it. I mean, they have there's a little bond between the Finnish players and Lauri. They have some special sauna system where they all steam together. But it's pretty cool to watch it. If you think about it, the NBA team received the hockey team. They were like the big sibling that when a new kid showed up, they had it all because we didn't have all the infrastructure. They were working out in the same gym, the same chefs. And it's been one of the coolest experiences I've ever been a part of, where Utah was kind of the main focus and mission. And then everything else came second. And it's been really cool to see. And I think as we're building out our new practice facilities and everything else, it's going to be pretty cool because I think we're going to be able to do something that really hasn't been done, where you benefit and learn from multiple sports.
So the build to Utah hockey hasn't seemed that frustrating at all, with maybe the exception of naming a team. How's that process been? And whoever thought copyrights were that important?
Damn, man.
Well, I brought it on myself, right? I mean, if there's any smoke, I should get it all. But we truly did this for the community. And, everyone's like, hey, don't send it out. Don't run surveys with the community. And I was like, no, that's exactly what we're going to do. We know exactly where our fans feel and how they think, and how they've kind of bobbed and weaved. And we're going to be super transparent with them throughout this process. And we always knew we were going to have a team name and everything set up for next year. And we're in line for that. And so it's cool. In the meantime, I think a lot of people like where we're at with Utah Hockey Club, and it's been a real rallying cry. And it was just truly one of the things that we couldn't tackle as we were trying to get ready. I mean, I think people forget. My wife and I walked into a conference room in the Marriott Hotel, April 18th. And I sat in front of, 70 people and said, hey, you've all been traded to Utah. And there's really not a lot of way to prep that. And what do you say? What do you do? Like it's, I just went around and kind of dapped everyone up and told the boys, hey, let's go golf. Right. That seems to cure everything. And then I think they came up here and they saw the arena packed. I think the greatest sporting event I've ever been to was that opening announcement of the team. No sport was even played. It was just them coming in and introducing themselves, but the feeling of pride of Utah, the feeling that, hey, look, the fans met us halfway. And then I think for all the fellas, like they knew for sure that, like, okay, this is what it feels like. And so, and honestly, the barn's been packed ever since.
Yeah. No, that's great. It looked awesome from a distance. The one thing with all those fans is like that. I know that support in that community is very real for hockey. Do you feel like you guys will be a team that spends to that ceiling and tries to get a star in there and tries to generate that sort of interest, or what's the strategy there?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of pieces. I think you look at, obviously, I don't want to name too many names, but you got Cooley and Gunner and Kells. Like we have the pieces to do some pretty fun things. We still got all of our picks. And we want to bring a Stanley Cup to Utah. Now, how do you do that while you're also not irrational and, you're patient, but also aggressive? And, our division's hasn't gotten any easier. Right.
Noticed.
And so, but I think we're looking at this and say, hey, how do we go on a really long run? And I think our basketball team's in a similar spot. Maybe hockey's a little ahead of us. But we're excited. I think we'll definitely, if the right opportunities are there, we want to be a part of every single conversation. And I think the guys are absolutely going to love Utah, and it's clear this can be a massive destination for the NHL, which is something that we're excited to show off.
Ryan, can you golf there in the winter?
You could golf right now.
Yeah.
People are.
I think you can ski and golf on the same day.
The ski, you can see the mountain where the ski resorts are right behind that. So you ski during the day or in the afternoon, you can golf in the morning. It's not, we're about 4,000, 5,000 feet. And the airport is literally right next to the arena, and you can get anywhere in the world from there.
Ryan, let me ask you about the summer. A lot of nice unrestricted free agent lists. How aggressive do you think you might be?
Are we just trying to ask him if he's going to sign Mitch Marner? Is that all we're doing here?
I saw him skating around the oval the other day on the screen.
He seems to love it.
I saw that.
That's a way to get better fast.
Yeah. Look, I think we're in the game. That's what the message is. Like,
it's a good message.
First of all, we needed to get our own guys locked up a little bit, and hopefully we're having a big summer here. But look, I'll let Bill and Chris handle that. Like they're looking at that. We need to really be thoughtful in how we do it. We're not going to spin just to spin.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to come in. I think the temptation as a new owner is you come in and want to really make a splash. That's not what we're about. Like I've seen that a lot, and I'd rather that we get it right and add a piece or two that can really help us and push us over. And we got a lot of young studs from inside as well.
Ryan, when I broke into the league in the early 90s, we had owners like Bill Wirtz and Ed Snyder. And I might as well have been walking and passing by like Don Vito Corleone, And now there's Tom Dundon going into Board of Governor meetings with his knapsack, wearing a knapsack. I see you on the glass with your cap backwards with Gary Bettman. Can you get Gary to wear a Utah cap backwards next game?
Well, so first of all, I didn't know that. pardon the ignorance here. I had no idea that Commissioner didn't sit on the glass. Like, so he turned to me during that opening game. He's like, I don't sit down here all the time.
Literally ever.
Why? It's the best seat in the house.
Yeah.
You can sit anywhere. I would sit down there.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, we sit up. I was like, all right, I got it. But we're rocking down here today. So, and then like Shabuzi came up and pulled up right behind him. And it was like, all right, this is a different vibe. But it's been incredible who's come out. I mean, Post Malone, Benson Boone, all these artists are coming out to games. And, what people don't know about you, everyone comes through here. I mean, we've got 7 million people that come through skiing a year. Everyone comes through here. You got the film festival. And now it's like, okay, what's going on tonight in Utah? And it's like hockey. And you can't go anywhere. And what I love about hockey is that when someone comes to a hockey game, they go home and tell like 7 people. They're like spreading this message of hockey. And it's incredible because that's how I got into it. Is I had a bunch of guys that I'd be playing golf with that are like, oh, nothing's like hockey. How does every Olympic sport train in Utah, but not hockey? Like it would kill it there. And then I was like, well, actually, that's super interesting. And then, what happened with 4 Nations? And it's kind of like, hey, we'll see you guys in Italy. And then knowing that it's going to be, we're going to see you in Salt Lake. And so to have our arena set up to where that is going to be where Olympic hockey is going to be, we got a massive renovation going on. You can't make it up. I mean, Gary, like, great foresight. We took a bet, but the people, I mean, we're in the fastest growing state with the youngest demographic here in Utah with the #1 economy. And so, that's normally a recipe. Like if this was a tech company, you would bet on it every day. And so that's a little bit of the recipe that we're working with. And, we're just fortunate enough to kind of be the stewards over it all.
Fantastic stuff, Ryan. And by the way, you got 3 golfers on this show right now that.
All right, let's go. I'll be the 4th.
Oh, we'd love it. We'd love it. All right, we'll keep that in mind for sure. And we got to get a Utah Hockey Club jersey. We've had a few teams send us jerseys.
See that? Let's see.
Well, no, this
one's just our local radio station here.
Yeah, we're trying to collect right now, but we got to find one of your jerseys.
All right, we'll ship one up.
You're a good man. Thanks for doing this, Ryan.
All right, fellas.
Thanks so much.
Ryan Smith, owner of the Utah Hockey Club. That was fun.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
It's a great place.
Good
sales pitch.
You know what's hilarious? First of all, I'm there. Like Utah Hockey Club, a guy, I don't even have to, if Marner goes there, I won't have to yell about Marner anymore, but let's go there and just cover them. But what I'll say is what he talked about at the start of that interview is what makes hockey guys, like there's just nobody like hockey people.
Yeah, you went out and golfed with a bunch of hockey dudes and you're
and
like.
bought a team.
Yeah. Is that not how you roll?
But no, it's just, he's worth $2.2 billion, that guy. Like he's clearly very rich. He has the ability to do that.
I mean, that's private.
I mean, it's on the internet. I literally Googled, I'm like, how much is that? It's not that private. But hockey people and hockey guys, you're around them. That makes me laugh. That he golf with like, had to force him. He's like, time to buy a team, boys.
Who the hell are these guys?
And, I mean, it is true that like when I played, there were owners that were like in their 60s or older guys and they worked their whole lives. And now you got these young kids coming out of tech worth billions and they're by team.
Yeah. And I don't know, I don't know if good, bad, or otherwise, but you think they would have more of a pulse on what a younger demographic would be interested in at the games?
I don't think it can hurt.
Yeah.
Right?
I got to tell you, I understand why Gary was like,
and,
I think, we'll
you're
take
City, that guy.
and,
okay.
And like, he's got the energy to want to do it.
Interesting that he's involved somewhat, like.
Well, he said it best. It's my money. It's my investment.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I keep an eye on it?
And I'll be honest, having not spoken to him on the show before, sometimes with people in his position, you have to be a little careful. How much do they really know? Like, could they give you names off the roster? Could they? He's well-versed in what's going on.
I do believe that's always a danger, is that you got a guy that thinks he can learn the biz in about 12 months.
Yeah.
I think we've kind of witnessed it a little bit with Tom Dundon because he is taking charge out there. It was his decision to go get a star in Rantanen. It was his decision to think that I can sign him. And unfortunately, it didn't work out. Could it more experience, more knowledge of the culture of the game or players in general could have serviced him a little better? Possibly.
Do you feel like we should listen to Brind'Amour soon?
Well,
are we ready to turn the
I think
page?
we'll do game time and then we'll hit a break. But yeah, to finish up on Utah, like, don't they have 1 million picks in the next couple drafts?
They have every pick in the next 3 years plus additional
Seconds.
2 seconds,
Yeah, okay.
another third,
They-
another
they-
fourth, 2/5.
They're not as stocked up as I remember them being, but they have all their normal stuff. But like,
And they've also made a bunch.
that's
Made
a
a bunch of picks.
that's a team on the rise. So
Yeah.
that was fun, boys. Something a little different.
Absolutely.
All right, it's game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app, latest odds, and find out why it's ever ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. So I was looking at this on Bet365 today as I quickly pull it up. You can bet on which country will win the Stanley Cup, and I thought at first that might be stupid.
They're just jumping all over something here.
But
But
basically, like, do you want Edmonton or not? Unless you like the Leafs.
Our Jets.
Oh, the Jets. Geez, sorry. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Our
yeah.
Jets.
You like the Jets and Oilers?
So USA is a minus 350 favorite which is actually a pretty good bet.
How many teams?
You get 13? No, I don't know. How many?
Going to the playoffs, right?
So
How many
Calgary
US
and
teams?
Vancouver can both get in.
yeah.
It's possible. It's unlikely. It's likely one of them does, and then you have Toronto, Winnipeg, Edmonton.
So you're betting on Toronto, Winnipeg, Edmonton, or Ottawa, potentially.
Yeah, you're getting 10 or 11 teams if you're.
So the number for Canada is plus 260, and the number for USA is minus 350. If there's some value at minus 350, it's obviously a lot of juice, but you're getting a lot of teams there. It's a pretty good kick at the can. No?
Buddy, the Jets are good. Oilers are good.
You forgot them.
I did. Let a moment. I know about them.
And
Jets talk.
the other thing I'll bring up tonight, the Toronto Maple Leafs are visiting Ryan Smith's Utah Hockey Club. First ever trip to their arena there. I don't know what it's called. Sorry. Alex Kerfoot, lock of the century to score against the Leafs.
But he's got 5 goals all
Doesn't
year.
matter. Doesn't matter.
New
It's
contract, though.
plus 600. Love that number for Alex Kerfoot against the Leafs tonight. That's got a great chance of happening as a longtime Leaf fan.
Alex Kerfoot this year, he's got 7 and 10 for 17.
So there you go. And that was game time. Presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
Yeah, Utah's. I like what they're going, where they're going.
I think a fun team to take over, given the potential.
Mm-hmm.
Some good young players. Like, you feel like if they could add a couple of names, just a couple of guys, you go, oh, okay, that Keller's really good. I like Schmaltz. Cooley's on the come up. Like, they have some guys. Decor's pretty good too.
They took a.
They're a Mitch Marner away from being really good.
No, they got a little bit of a Mitch Marner and that Dylan Gauthier.
Gunther.
Genther.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Genther.
he was.
They gave him $7 million after like playing 60 games, and he's going to be real good value in a very short period of
I
time.
think so, eh?
He can shoot it in the net.
Yep.
I think he's got over 20 now, doesn't he, Sammy?
He has 23 goals in 51 games so far this year. He's a +5. He had 18 in his rookie year playing
He's
for the Coyotes.
going to close in on 30.
Oh no, sorry. Second year he had 18.
I want to say the
But this is painting.
under 21, he's like leading in goals or second in goals. He produces.
Team Canada future member for sure.
Yeah.
Genther,
And we're painting Vancouver Canucks fans because his pick I believe was part of the Oliver Ekman-Larsson trade.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So goals at age 21 or younger: Wyatt Johnston 24, Genther 23, Fantilli 21, Celebrini 20, Mitchkov 20.
4 of those 5 guys from the good old Canada.
Oh, we got I guess so. Is that
Well,
Johnston?
fine.
Johnston is Johnston Canadian?
Yes.
Yeah, you like
Fantilli,
Wyatt's
Celebrini.
$42 million deal?
Love it for both sides actually.
Yeah, for him, he sold one season to UFA, and then
Yeah.
he gets to get paid again.
Yeah, and then he gets another crack at it real soon.
Call
here.
that the Matthews.
Okay, let's take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get into Brad Marchand and why. I'm going to tell you why he only went for a second round pick.
Okay. All right, then.
Okay. All right. When we return, more Real Kyper and Bourne. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. A reminder of this hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. I got like 4 texts going. What a background on Ryan Smith's office.
He knew what he was doing.
Looked,
free ad.
for those of you that couldn't watch on TV, or like, his background was like spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
And he's probably so rich that he actually looked bored. Like, it was like he was looking around going, I got to look busy. He must have everybody doing something for him right now.
No, every day he's just trying to come up with names that he can get through legislature. You pass patents. The Mammoth, the Outlaws. He's just trying every day.
Arizona is a pretty good place to play, but
Yeah.
like, that can rival.
Only tough thing is, I can tell you as an alcoholic who live there, tough to drink. Bars close early. You go to order a double, you got to pour your own shot into your drink.
Really?
Yeah. It's kind of strange.
There's ways around that.
There certainly is. I can tell you about
That's
them if you'd
not
like to know.
Ryan would probably find some ways around it.
That's not enough of a reason to
No.
not want to be there.
I was going to sign there, yeah, but it's tough to drink. I don't think that's a problem. I think people figure it out.
Okay.
Fun stuff.
Still
What a
more
detour.
meat off the bone we can pick from Friday's trade deadline here.
Well, before we went to break, you said something interesting about Rad Marchand.
Yeah. Well, first of all,
We do have the clip of him talking at his press conference and him getting emotional. If you want to play a bit of that before
let's
we start.
wait.
Okay.
Let's
perfect.
wait.
Yeah.
Just the mere thought, and I had him on my trade board for Sportsnet.ca.
Yep.
I came really close to taking him off this week. I said, no, leave him on.
Yeah.
Just leave him on, because there's something really, really strange going on here, because 16 years on the Boston Bruins and your captain and all these question marks on him. And not once did the Boston Bruins or general manager Don Sweeney or their president Cam Neely come out and squash anything.
Yeah.
You don't leave a guy of that stature dangling like that,
Twisting in the wind.
twisting in the wind without something to it.
So being willing to let the wind take him.
So, in saying that, where were you guys going into 3 p.m. deadline on whether he'd stay or go? Did you even give it that much thought?
I'll be honest. Prior to like 1:30 p.m., I never thought about his name. And then after some reports started coming out, like, I don't know, maybe did you tweet something?
No, I didn't really touch it. I think Elliot was the real first thing
As soon
we
as I heard
heard
his name, I was like, it's happening.
was it maybe about 10 minutes to,
Yeah.
and it's like he could be heading to Florida.
It was closer than that, boys.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm just quickly scrolling back here. I think it was like at the buzzer.
So tell us then, the one thing that blew me away and immediately made me go, what happened?
The tweet from Friedge when he said last minute possibility, hearing Brad Marchand could be traded to Florida, was at 3:01 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay, at the buzzer.
At the buzzer.
My first thought when I saw the return was Claude Giroux trade, where he said, yeah, you can trade me, but I'm only going there. And then they know you have all the leverage, and now you can't get anything for me, which is, I don't think would happen, but I'm looking forward to hearing more.
You outscooped me.
Is that right?
Yes.
That's not a scoop. I was just throwing stuff at the wall and something finally stuck.
But
You're
It's-
right. First time for everything, buddy.
All right.
it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It makes total sense. He took everybody out of play, and this is where I want to go now.
Yeah. And you're Bill Zito, and you say, oh, he wants to come here
So,
and only here?
off the top of my head, Sammy, is it a second rounder unless he wins 2 rounds
Yeah.
and
Goes to
plays half
Plays
the
50%
games?
of the game.
And plays half the games.
if it goes to a first.
Yeah. And
First in like 2028, I think.
just explain something to me.
Yeah.
Okay. You still got Charlie McAvoy there.
Yeah.
You still got
I like
Pasternak
what you're
there.
doing. Yeah.
You still got Swayman there. You got Lindholm there. Okay. You could go out and get a free agent here.
Totally.
Why are you giving away this guy for a second rounder?
That's one of those things where you go, well, you can't just take advantage of me. I'm not giving away Brad Marchand for a second. I'm not doing that.
And like at the buzzer of the trade deadline, you trade away your heart and soul captain.
Please explain it to me because, okay, he's 36 or 37, Sammy?
37. I believe he just turned.
Okay, if he just turned
But he's still going to be
37,
60 point.
he's
36. My bad.
He's-
May 11th.
He's 36, going on 37 next year. He's still, if I'm not mistaken, your second leading scorer on the team to Pasternak, even though Pasternak's like got 30 gazillion more points
He's
than
so
him.
good, by the way, Pasternak.
Yeah, he's so good.
So good.
But why are you so adamant to get rid of this guy?
You're also 3 points out of a playoff spot. I know they don't think they can win this year, and I know that they're being honest with themselves, but I mean, if you can't get more than a second, hang on.
Like,
So here's what kills me, Kip. Sorry, unless is we're going to play the Marchand interview in a second, where he says Sweens is a great GM, if not the best GM in the league. Marchand always has a ton of he's smart with how he talks about other people, but he didn't let on that there's any acrimony between them. But how could there not be? How could there not be?
let's go to Brad Marchand.
This is a longer clip, so if you're sick of hearing it, I think it's like 2 something. So if you're sick of hearing it, just say and we'll dump out of it. But we can start it here.
I want to kind of set the record straight. Like, I don't have any ill will towards the management group, towards Sweens, Cam, or Charlie. I've had an incredible run in that organization, and I'm extremely proud. How things went there. Sorry. So yeah, it was very disappointing that things didn't get done, just because obviously I love the organization. I wanted to stay there, but at the end of the day, I also know that business is business, and every player has a shelf life, and regardless if that's when we want it to be or not, sometimes there's things out of our control that dictate situations. If we were in the playoffs at that point in time, we'd probably be having a much different conversation. And I know that. It's something we had talked about previously, but we weren't. And at that point, very tough decisions have to be made. And the one thing that I always respect, I told Cam Sweens this, is they have a job to do, and they have to make the best decisions for the team. And I completely understand where the decisions need to be made. It sometimes they work against you, but that's why I believe Sweens is one of, if not the best general managers in the league. I watched him for a very long time, excel at his job, and for those who are in the organization,
Jesus.
We're
good here. Yeah, we're good. I can only watch Brad Marchand choke up so many times.
It's emotional. But he's first of all, he's a smart guy, as you mentioned.
He is.
Okay, he's a sharp guy,
Very
and he can read a room. And I just like the fact that once you kind of get over the emotional aspect of it, that it's business. It's just business. We'll decide maybe today, tomorrow, or 6 months or 6 years from now whether it was good business or bad business, but it's still just business. And he's smart enough to acknowledge it. Where people get in trouble, I truly believe, is if they just can't look at it in no other light except their own, right? They can only see it from their view, and they don't look at different dynamics of it.
Is this Marner talk?
No, it's me talk. 2019, leaving Sportsnet.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I was emotional at the time, but you cannot look at it in only your eyes. You got to look at their decisions on why.
Yeah.
It's business. Am I going to badmouth Sportsnet? Is Marchand going to badmouth the Boston Bruins? Is he going to say I felt ripped off? They don't know what. No, it's just business.
And that depends, right, Kip? So that's always the right thing to do, I believe. What you're talking about there, what Marchand is doing there. But we do see teams and people who want to get their narrative out in front of it. And I actually am thinking about like when Shanahan and Dubas had their public falling out. You felt both guys being like, chipping away at each other and taking shots and trying to establish position. So that is really impressive from Marchand because I don't think there's any way he's not pissed off. How could you not be pissed off?
I think yes.
Unless he's genuinely went to them and said, I want the heck out of here.
You can go through your stages, and you've done it through your life, that you go through different stages, and there's anger, there's disappointment, there's you name it, and you can go through all of that, but you don't have to do it publicly. And I think he's genuinely excited about playing in Florida right now.
How could you not be?
Yeah, I mean, chance to win a cup
is what he's able to do too is not necessarily. I don't know how he could do it. It would take maybe a very strong guy, but he hasn't closed the door on returning to the Boston Bruins July 1st.
That just never happens. And
you're probably right.
And I would love to see it happen. But the hurt feelings seem like they override some of the. They obviously didn't offer him a very great deal. But what do you make of the deal? People offer him $3 million a year or something.
No,
that can't be
bad information.
Bad info.
Yeah,
$3 million a year. Guy's supposed to score 60-some points. He's on Team Canada.
That was just really bad reporting.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll tell you. And Elliot talked about this on Hockey Night in Canada during the second intermission, that Brad tried everything to get a deal done, including meeting with them and saying,
it's crazy.
That's nuts. That he sat with them and still couldn't get it done.
You know what the difference was? Maybe $500,000 a year.
What?
No way.
To me, you owe Brad that. Brad's been underpaid for a decade.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why you can look at through Brad's situation and go, guys, I gave you a heck of a deal for
been making 6.5.
Literally my whole
Hart
career.
Trophy votes, like
my whole career.
And but they walked.
It shows.
They walked
for a conditional second-round pick.
For a conditional second-round pick, they walked on something that was as little as $500,000 a year.
And history will write whether that was a tremendous show of stones or sheer idiocy. One or the other. But we will see. Also shows how entrenched he is that he mentioned Charlie. I had to Google who that is. Charlie Jacobs is Jeremy Jacobs, I assume,
the family that owns the team.
CEO of the alternate governor.
Yeah.
But he's talking to
they still have
people with the purse.
They still have a right to move on and make a business decision. So $1, $500,000, $10 million, it doesn't matter. It's your decision. You're in a position to make it. You did it. Move on.
Two things. First thing, if I'm a Boston Bruins fan and I'm watching Brad Marchand at the podium wearing Panthers colors, almost cry.
Vomiting.
That is the most disgusting video you could ever watch. Like, that is just horrifying if you're a Bruins fan. It's like, oh my God, like how I would turn that off immediately. Secondly,
what are you showing me?
Some breaking news from NHL Public Relations. Aaron Ekblad suspended 20 games for Florida Panthers defenseman Aaron Ekblad has been suspended for 20 games without pay for violating the terms of the NHL and NHLPA performance-enhancing substance program. Under the terms of the collective bargaining agreement, the suspension is accompanied by a mandatory referral to the NHL and NHLPA program for substance abuse and behavioral health for evaluation and possible treatment. The National Hockey League will have no further comment at this time.
That is huge news. That is playoff
barely
implications.
They have 18 games left. He just got suspended for 20. Will he miss any playoff games?
Yeah,
that counts all the same. Suspensions just trickle in.
Or does it get tacked on to the regular season? But he's a free agent.
Yeah.
What happens if he retires?
So it must count for playoffs. He must be out the first 2 games of playoffs.
Wow.
And they're without Matthew Tkachuk too. I will say they have.
How big's that Seth Jones pickup?
No kidding. Wow.
So that's a fairly massive story. I mean,
And
there's
that
not a
just came down.
just literally while we were talking about 4 minutes ago.
God, they test like 8 guys a year. I know that's not true, but like,
Yeah.
that's shocking.
For sure.
He's a fairly regularly injured guy. You could see him trying different things, and who knows.
Do you guys want to quickly play the Brind'Amour audio?
Yeah, I think that's a really good piece of audio.
Okay, so can we
Backstory.
Backstory?
Yeah, backstory is just that Rod Brind'Amour did the interview on Rantanen leaving, where he makes the point that it wasn't like he came to Carolina and looked around, said, I don't like this, but had made some decision, and I'll let him explain the rest.
Rod Brind'Amour clip, please, Derek.
There's not been one guy that has left here because they didn't like it here. That was except for Mikko, and he did not like it. When he showed up, he said, there's 4 teams I'll go play for. Well, you're not one of them. So there's 28 other teams he wasn't going to. And when the better question is, should we have known that before we signed him?
Right.
Or attempted to sign him? You know, Gensel was a totally opposite thing. We had offered him the contract. We offered him at the end. He's here.
Right.
But we didn't, for whatever reason. That's a different conversation. And all the other guys that walked out of here at free agency is because they got paid a lot more money than we were offering. They all wanted to stay.
Right.
So Mikko was the only one that I've been associated with that said, I don't want to, this is not for me. And I think there's other circumstances on that. It's not because of the hockey. It was because I think his family, it wasn't for him.
Mm-hmm.
So good. And I appreciate that he let us know that. We probably should have known that before we made the deal. Maybe that changes how we go about things.
Yeah, I think it's a given, and their general manager Tulsky mentioned that it was a risk, and you lost the risk.
And so, do you think that's Dundon related? Do you think he wanted to get a superstar in there? And
but he's running the show.
Yeah,
he runs the show.
Is that right? It's just I hear a very competitive man who is frustrated at not being able. His team got worse for this season. Like, yeah, maybe long term we'll look back and it'll shake out fine. But this season's team's worse, and he says we should have known that about Rantanen, or maybe we should have known that. Gensel, if we had offered him the money, he would have stayed. And everyone else, we didn't offer him enough money. That's like, to me, if you're the owner, that feels like the beginning of the end for Brind'Amour and Dundon. It's like, those are some real shots to me.
Yeah. If you're Brind'Amour, you're like, so I had Marty Necas on my team this year and Mikko Rantanen on my team this year, and now I'm going towards the playoffs with neither on my team at the most important part of the year.
I can't put a first on the power play.
You had Necas next year at 6.5 too. That was another crack.
Boy, that
at
Necas is
keeping
pretty good on Saturday night.
Keeping a player at a low cost while you improve in other areas. So it's a big gamble, and unfortunately they lost. Stankoven's a decent player, but not a game changer by any stretch. He's young. He obviously has more experience than what the Leafs were going to offer with Minton and Cowan. So
sounds like they tried to make another deal, Carolina did, at the deadline to improve, like along with Stankoven, but ran out of time. And I think that clip that we had considered playing was them saying that they just spent too much time.
I do have that clip, but it's
okay. But you said the gist of it. They wanted to make more moves, but they ran out of time. Yeah. It's like, guys, they put the trade deadline in your calendar in the summer. Yeah. It's not like it snuck up on you.
It sounds like things unfolded in the last couple days in a way they didn't anticipate.
As an owner, if someone said to me, we wanted to make more trades, but we spent too much time on Rantanen, I'm telling you, I'd go ballistic.
But if you're the one in the room making the decisions, you don't have the right to do that because you're a part of it.
Joey's have to make a decent point.
Ryan Smith would never.
Ryan Smith would never do that.
Our
boy Ryan Smith.
Our golf partner.
Our favorite owner in the league.
Partner. Our new best friend, Ryan Smith, owner of Utah Hockey Club. Thank you very much for joining us at the top of the hour and the invitation. That was fun today.
Anyway, it's fun.
All right, and if you're not sick of us already, 9:30, Sportsnet.
Tonight?
Regional, Leafs in Utah, Justin Bourne, yours truly, Elliot Friedman, and David Amber.
Have a blast, guys.
It'll be fun.
All right, we're back tomorrow.